Sacrificing Families by Leisy Abrego. Preface. After separating from my grandfather, my maternal grandmother could not bear to see her children go hungry. Not unlike many poor and single mothers in El Salvador, she had been toiling in domestic jobs for a couple of years and made barely enough for transportation, but not enough for food. So she came to the United States in the mid-1960s. Penniless and driven to fulfill her responsibility to her children, she left all four of them with her mother. Initially, she worked in the United States without legal authorization to live in the country. After becoming a legal permanent resident, it took many years for all the paperwork to be processed through the complicated bureaucracy that was known back then as Immigration and Naturalization Services, INS. Not until she received the last piece of paper from the federal agency was she able to reunite with her children. Some 14 years after her departure, 3 decades later, and although they see each other weekly, my mother, who is now in her 50s, still cannot hold back the tears when she recounts the many times in her childhood when she longed to be close to her mother. She and her sisters are grateful to their grandmother for her care, and they would have appreciated their father's presence in their lives, but it was their mother's absence all those years that continues to pain them. In general, as a society, we accept and try to adhere to the notion that parents and children reside together, at least until the children get old enough to move out on their own. Of course, families are very diverse. The social expectation, however, is that children will share a home with at least one parent, biological or not. This book is about families for whom this expectation is an unattained privilege. It is about mothers and fathers who feel that they have run out of economic options, who then make the heart-rending decision to go thousands of miles away to another country in search of jobs and greater wages for their children's survival. In the Salvadorian immigrant community, family separation is relatively common. Everyone has a sibling, cousin, uncle, or neighbor who lives or who has lived away from their children or from their mother or father, what scholars refer to as transnational families. In conversations with youth from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico about their educational trajectories in the United States, several students shared stories of painful separations and challenging reunifications with their biological parents. Their narratives reveal that family separation has life-altering repercussions for countless Latino immigrant families. Sacrificing Families draws extensively on the voices of parents in the United States, largely driven by a desire for survival, and the children who remain in El Salvador. Their narratives expose the many economic and emotional experiences of children and parents who are in the midst of long-term separation. Most notably, the stories uncover profound emotional suffering, varied economic realities. That is, not all of these families are thriving economically, and underlying structural constraints that determines how families fare. I want to clarify a few key points about language and social constructions as I employ them analytically in this project throughout the book. I use the categories migrant and immigrant to refer to the parents in these transnational families as seen from the perspective of their children in El Salvador versus the standpoint of someone in the United States. The word migrant captures movement in flux and therefore best underscores how those who stayed behind in the homeland perceive their parents. The word immigrant, on the other hand, better captures the more long-term settlement and incorporation that often unexpectedly becomes the goal once these parents arrive in the United States. I also reluctantly call family separation a strategy, although the term implies full cognizance of the and control over the situation. In Most of these cases, parents are initially hesitant to undertake migration and pursue it only when they are convinced it is better than local possibilities for survival. Given the macro-political and economic realities of the country, it is safe to assume that their chances for economic success or upward mobility are rather limited in El Salvador. This is why, in their own narratives, migrant parents take ownership of their decision to leave. Also, I did not ask to study participants about their sexual orientation, and nobody discussed their experiences or perceptions of a family outside of their heteronormative model. El Salvador continues to be a socially conservative place where LGBT people's human rights are denied, and LGBT activists' work is marginalized. Sorry about that. For these reasons, while transnational families may certainly include gay parents, this experience was not reflected in the narratives. One of the goals of my analysis in this project is also to reveal the constructed nature of illegality and its consequences for Salvadorian transnational families. Some may find my use of the term illegality offensive because, if read superficially, it has the potential to reproduce the dehumanizing effects of terms like illegal to refer to immigrants, and in the contemporary moment, pejoratively racialize U.S. Latinas and Latinos. I am sensitive to this form of violence and therefore consciously used the term to point the analytical lens to the structures that create vulnerability in immigrant lives. That is, contrary to using language of illegality to brand human beings, I draw on the same language to underscore how laws, enforcement practices, and discourses produce categories with grave implications for human beings. Staying true to the story, Sacrificing Families is not just about suffering of families and individuals. What happens to these families is too complex to be portrayed only negatively. In many cases, parents are able to achieve their family's goals, and children reap the rewards of separation through educational and economic gains. Others, however, suffer greatly through the lengthy separations. They feel abandoned and disconnected from the world around them. My aim is not merely to repeat their words. Instead, the focus shifts back and forth between their actions, goals, and understandings and the larger public discourses, structural barriers, opportunities, and expectations. This expanded context reveals the transnational parents' behaviors are at times encouraged or restrained, made possible or impossible by forces outside of any single person's control. In the process of researching and writing this book, I have come to understand my own family history in that larger context. This allows me to better appreciate why any parent would seemingly willingly leave his or her children for a decade or longer, and why, even when parents claim to be doing it all for the sake of their children, the children's lives do not always improve. And in conversations with my mom about my findings and conclusions, she too has found herself in many of these stories. It is my hope that others will be able to do the same. Acknowledgments. The powerful stories that fill these pages reflect the courage and hard work of Salvadorian migrants and their families. I would like to extend my most heartfelt thanks to all the mothers and fathers, daughters and sons who embraced the interviews as opportunities to bring to light experiences that they knew were not unique to them. Their extraordinary risk and sacrifices simply to secure their family's survival are compelling reminders that debates about immigration and globalization are not just about numbers. They are about human beings, By the same token, dollar figures and discussions about migration and development are always also about human beings. It is their and my deepest desire that in the hands of readers, this book will help to humanize migrants and prevent the continuation of policies that force so many to leave their children behind. I'm deeply grateful for their trust in me and for their faith in this project. This book is also a testament to the wonderful communities in my life. It was their camaraderie and encouragement that allowed me to complete it. This project was supported financially at various stages, funds from the Andrew W. Mellon Program in Latin American Sociology, the Latin American Studies Association section on Central America, and the UCLA Latin American Institute allowed me to travel to El Salvador to conduct interviews. I am also grateful to the Haynes and Ford Foundations, as well as the University of California President's Postdoctoral Fellowship Program for providing me with valuable time to revise the manuscript. Finally, the UCLA faculty Career Development Grant provided funds for research assistant and production costs. I am fortunate to have been guided by several compassionate and thoughtful scholars. Rebecca Emmy mentored, challenged, and supported me in developing the analytical and professional tools that continue to serve me today. Vilma Ortiz and Min Zhao, with their genuine enthusiasm for my work, were central in seeing me through the first draft. My mentor, colleague, and friend, Cecilia Minever, deserves special recognition for her boundless generosity and invaluable contributions to academia. Her work on Central Americans in the United States has deeply enriched my thinking, and I can only aspire to be such an exceptional mentor and scholar. Esther Hernandez, Arlie Zimmerman, Sylvania Falcon, Maria Cristina Morales, Sayepa Portillo, Katie Pinto, Veronica Terraquez, Cynthia Felicino, and Shannon Gleason are also brilliant and caring colleagues. I continue to be inspired by these women's ability to seamlessly weave together their intellectual talents with their commitment to social justice. I have also learned a great deal from Leos Chavez, whose genuine passion for scholarship and collegiality, I can't say that word, continues to inspire me. Since joining the faculty at UCLA, I benefit greatly from the intellectual support and magnificent colleagues, including David Hernandez, Alicia Gaspar de Alba, Abel Valenzuela, Maya Blackwell, Otto Santa Ana, Eric Avila, Jana Shattuck Hernandez, Ruben Hernandez Leon, and Roger Waldinger, Ellie Hernandez, Elena Moschini, Olivia Diaz, Nancy Dennis, and Brenda Trujillo have helped to make the Chicano and Chicano Studies Department a wonderful new home. With funds from the Penny Canner Next Generation Grant, UCLA's Center for the Study of Women brought together a star lineup of scholars, including Pat Zavia, Maya Blackwell, Marjorie Falstich, Orleana, Catherine Anderson-Levitt, and Nadia Kim, who helped me tighten up the manuscript during the final stages of revisions. At Stanford University Press, Kate Wall was thorough and kind in her support of this book. My experience with her, Frances Malcolm, and everyone at Stanford was delightful. Many other people have had large and small parts in helping me complete the book. From offering editorial advice and sharing information about the publishing process, to helping me navigate life in academia and cheering me on when I most needed encouragement. Christina Mora, Veronica Terraquez, Sylvania Falcon, Lynn Posey, Anthony Ocampo and Rosacio Rosales took the time to read chapters and give me helpful feedback. I also benefited from the thoughtfulness of Ana Patricia Rodriguez, Roberto Gonzalez, Susan Coutine, Alicia Bonaparte, Diane Yoder, Nancy Ewan, Christina Sue, R.B. Miller, Faustina Ducross, Noriko Millman, Christina Chen, Jody Aguias Vajeo, Helen Morrow, Georgina Guzman, Gloria Chacon, and Lupe Escobar. In El Salvador, I was fortunate to rely on Oscar Ramirez, Patty Martinez, the Martinez Bolanas, and the Francia families for housing and transportation during the research phase. At UCLA, Jennifer Carcabo and Nathale Fernandez provided fantastic research assistance. I have also been graced with kind and generous friends. My life is all the better for the wisdom and support of Sandra Avila, Roberto Montenegro, Sarah Chun, Hayes Ambrosio, Martha Martinez, Karina Olivia, Morella Portillo Rivas, Alicia Yvonne Estrada, Jeanette Moria, Lydia Garcia, Maya Chinchilla, Gustavo Guerra, Hugo Nelson Chavez, Mario Escobar, Jade Sassar, Charlene Gomez, Peter Coons, Adrian Soldatenko, and Kelly Riley. Cheerfully, they have always encouraged and taught me to enjoy life, laughter, family, good poetry, and good food. My sisters Claudia, Tatiana, and Natalia have also helped me immensely by offering welcome distractions. Aside from being great company, they are incredibly loving tias, as are my sisters-in-law, Claudia and Carla. My children and I are lucky to have them in our lives. I'd also like to recognize the support and understanding of my extended family, tias y primos, abuelos y siguera, who always welcome me back to family gatherings. All my cousins, aunts, uncles, but especially my tia Patti, tia Myrna, Marie, and abuelo Huna, who have constantly given me much love and many wonderful stories. I also thank Mateo and Diego, my sons, who throughout the process of researching and writing this book have filled our lives with intensity and peace, stress, laughter, and a keen appreciation for life in all its vulnerabilities, messiness, and grandeur. 8-year-old Mateo, who was born in the middle of a research process, has spent his entire life hearing that one day his mom will write a book. I'm thrilled not to let him down. His curiosity and love reading have inspired me to pay even closer attention to words and their power, and I am ever so grateful that he cares enough to want to read my work. 5-year-old Diego keeps me grounded in reality with his simple imagination and passion in everything he does. His heartfelt laughs and tears, along with his amazing hugs, makes me a better, more whole human being. Playing, teaching, and learning from them create great balance in my life. And I thank God every day for making me their mother. With their mere existence, both my boys have contextualized this work in a new light, helping me better appreciate the sacrifices of mothers and fathers and the suffering of children in transnational families. What an incredibly privilege never to have made the soul-crushing decision to leave them for the sake of securing their survival. The book is dedicated to my parents, Douglas and Margot Abrego, to whom I will always be deeply indebted. Through teenage parenthood, a civil war, the struggles of immigration, and the challenges of limited resources, they were constant providers with high expectations. With great pride, I try to honor their experiences and accomplishments in everything I do. Inspired in part by my mom's own painful childhood experience in a transnational family and my dad's personal and professional sacrifices to provide for us, this book is a tribute to them. Finally, I also dedicate the book to Carlos Colorado. This accomplishment, like all others, belongs partially to you. 19 years and counting, and I am still convinced there is no partner as reliable and committed as you. To say that I am incredibly unfortunate to be married to you is an understatement of grand proportions. Ever since we met, you have taken each of my dreams and made it your own, all the while removing obstacles from my path, from the smallest of pebbles to the largest of boulders, both physical and mental. I am most grateful for your ability to see goodness in me at every turn, because you never allow me to get bogged down in the pitfalls of academia. And because your humor continues to shock and entertain me, I dedicate this book to you. Como bien dice Franco de Vito, si me darían el aguero una vez más, te alegra si pensarlo es que no hay nada que pensar. This is the end of the preface and acknowledgments. Thank you.